The blaring sound of an ambulance siren filled the quiet town, its echo reverberating off the buildings. The ambulance had been idling in place for several minutes, but the road was blocked by a patrol car ahead, unmoving. Dr. Elias Davis, a 30-year-old African-American physician, shifted uneasily in his seat. He was growing anxious. Stepping into the front to get a clearer view, he began considering alternate routes to maneuver the vehicle past the obstruction. In his hurry, he unintentionally pressed the accelerator, and the ambulance nudged the back of the police car ahead. Immediately, Elias jumped out, hoping to apologize. But from the entrance of a nearby cafe, Officer Dominic Gray, a seasoned cop in his mid-40s, stormed toward him, his face twisted in anger. Without a word, Gray raised a fist and struck Elias hard across the face. Elias stumbled back, crashing to the pavement, while Gray stood over him, his voice seething. "You think you can just drive through here, you disrespectful fool? You just bumped into a police car." Elias struggled to stay calm, his voice shaky but firm. "I'm just trying to get to the hospital. Someone's life is at risk," he pleaded. But Gray scoffed, his words dripping with disdain. "Don't give me that crap. People like you always think you can get away with things. You're going to jail for this." Before Elias could respond, Gray grabbed him by the collar, yanking him upright as though to drag him away. But then, out of the ambulance, a woman stumbled out. She was pale, with a bandaged arm, her eyes wide in panic. With what little strength she had, she cried out, "Please don't take him." She fainted before anyone could stop her, collapsing to the ground. It was Erica, Gray's partner. Just that morning, she had planned to take her own life, but Elias had managed to save her. And the events that followed would turn everything upside down. Erica woke in a hospital bed, weak and disoriented. When she opened her eyes, she saw Elias sitting at her side, bruised from the earlier encounter. She whispered faintly, "Thank you for everything. I owe you." Elias, though visibly worn, smiled gently. "It's nothing. I'm just doing my job. You don't owe me anything." But Erica said nothing more. She gave him a faint smile and, with a silent gesture, reached out her arms, yearning for comfort. Elias hesitated for a moment before wrapping her in a tender hug, trying to offer some warmth. Yet their moment of peace was short-lived. 3 doctors, all wearing white coats, barged into the room. They pushed past Elias, shoving him aside roughly, causing him to stumble and fall. One of them even knocked over a coffee, spilling it all over him, laughing as it soaked his uniform. Elias, stunned, tried to regain his footing. One of the doctors sneered, "Look at you, filthy as always. The white coats aren't meant for people like you." Erica, her heart boiling with anger, shouted, "Stop it. This isn't right. He didn't do anything wrong." But the doctors just laughed louder, ignoring her pleas. "Oh, don't worry. He'll forget about it," one of them mocked. Helpless, Erica lay back in bed, unable to stop them. Elias, hurt but holding his pride, said nothing. He stood up slowly, silently leaving the room as the doctors continued their cruel taunts. Erica, fuming with rage, demanded they leave her room immediately. Deep down, she swore she would find a way to make them pay for what they had done. Weeks passed. Erica fully recovered and returned to work. Elias, as quiet and patient as ever, endured the daily harassment from his colleagues. But one day, a familiar face appeared at the hospital, Officer Gray. He was visibly ill, coughing heavily, his skin pale and clammy. He had a high fever, and the doctors were uncertain about the cause. Gray, confused and worried, was told to wait for his test results in a separate area. As he waited, he noticed Elias scrubbing the floor nearby, surrounded by the same doctors who had tormented him. "You should have been doing this all along, right? It's the perfect job for someone like you," one of them sneered. They threw paper at him, laughing as Elias silently continued his work. Then, one of the doctors kicked a bucket of cleaning water, splashing it on Elias. He tried to avoid the spill, but was covered in the dirty liquid. Fury began to rise in Elias. "You really think God won't punish you for this?" he said, his voice strained with anger. The doctors just laughed louder, dismissing him as foolish. But before their laughter could die down, The doctors began to cough uncontrollably. Their faces twisted in horror as they coughed up blood. Gray, who had been watching in shock, suddenly realized that the symptoms seemed eerily familiar. "I have the same illness," he said, stumbling forward. "What is this?" Before anyone could answer, Gray's test results came in, confirming his worst fears. A fast-acting virus was attacking their bodies, destroying cells at an alarming rate. The doctors rushed Gray into isolation, unsure of how contagious the virus was. Meanwhile, panic spread among them. They feared they had all contracted the same virus. Desperate to find a way to save themselves, they quickly devised a plan. They blamed Elias. A few moments later, Elias, who had stepped out for a moment, was ambushed by the three doctors. They dragged him into a nearby restroom and dunked his head in a toilet, shouting insults. "You're the one who infected us, aren't you? How dare you do this to us?" they yelled. Dazed and confused, Elias tried to explain, "I didn't do anything. I don't know what's going on." But the doctors wouldn't listen. "Only someone like you could spread something so filthy," one of them hissed. "Tell us the cure, or you'll die before we do." Just as things seemed unbearable, the door burst open. Erica, having overheard the commotion, rushed in. "Stop! He's not the one who did this." The doctors sneered. "This is the men's restroom. Stay out of it." But Erica stood her ground, her voice resolute. "I infected you all. He's innocent." The doctors froze in disbelief. "But we helped you when you were in the hospital," one stammered. Erica's eyes flared with fury. "You bullied the man I love. He's the one who saved me, not you. Now you'll pay. You'll suffer like you made him suffer." Her words were like a punch to the gut. The doctors could feel their bodies weakening, and fear gripped their hearts. Erica's voice became a chilling laugh. At that moment, Elias, weakened but determined, stood up. He walked toward her and wrapped her in his arms, whispering, "Thank you, my love." Erica smiled, her rage dissipating. She looked at Elias with affection, her voice filled with warmth. "Let's get married. We'll start a family, a real one this time." But then, in an unexpected twist, Elias reached into her pocket and pulled out a syringe, injecting himself with its contents. Erica gasped, "No, you'll die." But Elias remained calm, his voice steady. "Give me the antidote, or I'll die along with them." Confused and frantic, Erica demanded, "Why are you doing this?" "They hurt you. I'm making them pay," Elias answered softly. "But this is bigger than just revenge. It's about saving lives." Reluctantly, Erica handed over the antidote. Elias used it to save the doctors, then rushed to Gray's room to administer the cure to him as well. However, when the crisis passed, Elias refused the antidote for himself. Miraculously, the virus subsided, and all of them survived. Erica, overwhelmed by her actions, was taken into custody and sent to a psychiatric facility for evaluation. Her future remained uncertain. As for the doctors, they became deeply grateful to Elias, recognizing his unwavering dedication to saving lives. They ceased their harassment, even offering to help him in any way they could. Gray, too, had a change of heart, abandoning his prejudices. For Elias, his life began to flourish. His work became more respected, and he was surrounded by true allies. In the end, goodness and justice had triumphed. In the end, Elias' quiet strength and unyielding sense of duty led him to victory, not just over the illness that threatened so many lives, but over the deep-seated prejudices and injustices he had endured. His decision to act with compassion, even when faced with hatred and cruelty, reflected his true character. The journey was not an easy one, but his resilience paid off. By saving the lives of those who had tormented him, Elias demonstrated that the path to real justice is often paved with selflessness and grace, even in the face of those who sought to bring him down. For Erica, her actions, while born of love and anger, marked a transformative moment in her life. The guilt she carried for her earlier plans and the pain she had inflicted on those around her became a turning point. With Elias by her side, she found a way to redeem herself. And although her journey toward healing was just beginning, she had the opportunity to rebuild her life with a newfound sense of purpose. She understood, too late, the depths of Elias' sacrifice and courage. The doctors, once callous and cruel, learned a hard lesson in humility. The very people they had looked down upon had saved them. With their lives spared, they began to reevaluate their actions, their attitudes, and their beliefs. It was clear that their near-death experience had irrevocably changed them. As for Officer Gray, the incident marked the end of his racist views. The suffering he witnessed, the lives saved, and the acts of kindness he had seen up close reshaped his perspective. He no longer saw people through the lens of prejudice, but through the humanity they shared. In the end, Elias' life flourished, not because of recognition or accolades, but because he lived by a simple truth, that in the face of adversity, kindness and integrity will always prevail. In the end, Elias' life flourished, not because of recognition or accolades, but because he lived by a simple truth, that in the face of adversity, kindness and integrity will always prevail. His unwavering dedication to helping others, despite the personal cost, became a beacon of hope. Through his actions, he showed that even in a world fraught with cruelty, the quiet ones, the ones who choose to do what's right, regardless of the odds, are the ones who leave a lasting legacy. His story was a reminder that true strength lies in compassion and that change often begins with one brave individual.